Hello all. Bev, Jag, hope you're well.
Hello, I'm going to keep my mic off while I'm eating everything, etc.
No problem at all. No problem at all. We'll wait for a minute or two and we'll kickstart. Jag, can you hear us okay? And if you can confirm, you can see our screen.
Hi, afternoon. Yeah, I can hear all well and good. All good. Thanks.
Cheers, Jag. Hey. We'll kickstart in 15 seconds and all right. Okay, so others will join as we move forward. This session is recorded and yeah, if others will catch up as they join. All right, thank you all for joining. And this session is about leading digital change in resource-strapped consoles. And this is a second session. We had a last session with a similar theme, doing more with less. This session is the second one in the same series, so let's get into it. All right, so about lunch and learn, this is a half an hour session where while you're eating, I'll step you through the topic and then we will open discussion for 15 minutes. And it's light and easy session. There is nothing formal. So please ask questions in those 15 minutes, engage, share your perspective. That's the whole purpose of the session. And I urge you to take at least one action. So let us not make it just another information session. We want to really make sure that you take action for anything that resonates with you. We're going to record this and the recording and the supporting information will be available on our website. So for your future reference, so please join as you move forward. All right, so let us talk about context. And I'm trying to paint a bit of picture as the landscape of the organizations which we are covering now. Imagine there is a remote consul, shire, town, city. So they're not in metro, they're remote. It could be any organization for that matter. So they're remote, the budgets are limited, the talent, finding the right people for digital change is not that easy. And while these constraints are already there, people come and go, so there is a high turnover of employees, and that is standard for all the regional consuls and regional organizations we have in Australia. In this environment, how we can lead the digital change, that is what we are going to cover in this session. So what we are going to do is we are going to cover that from three viewpoints. So what we call as the three pillars. The first one is prioritization. The second is resource management. The third one is change management. And we are going to step through these three pillars one by one. Let's talk about prioritization. Now, imagine a consul or any organization, which is a medium-sized organization in remote Australia. There are multiple initiatives on their to-do list. So I've listed 5. In general, we have hundreds of such sort of initiatives that any organization wants to implement. The standard response is really whatever is urgent, whoever is shouting the loudest. It is a reactive mode of prioritization. So all these burning issues come at the front, and we are firefighting all the way through. The better way is we systematically prioritize, and we don't see this much in our regional organizations. So any new initiative, it goes on a project on paper. So any new initiative have some description which explains what that project or initiative is all about, who is doing what sort of resources are required, why that project is important, what are the risks that will be mitigated through that, and what are the opportunities, how it aligns with the overall council goals or overall organization goals. We may have estimates related to it, so there is some description about the initiative, and that is going to tell us what the specific initiative is all about. Once we know those details, and then we do a profiling. So imagine 50 initiatives on this graph where we now have worked on the project brief. We have weighted risks on x-axis. We have weighted benefits on y-axis. Now we are scientifically looking at the risks and benefits and profiling each initiative. And when we start doing it, we can clearly see three sort of quadrants. So quadrant one is our low risk, low benefit. That means it may be a low hanging fruit, not a lot of risk and not a lot of benefits. So perhaps a low hanging fruit. Quadrant two, high risk, low benefit, something which we should consider twice before initiating because of the profile. These are more strategic projects in quadrant three, and quadrant four is low risk, high benefits, something which we should try to prioritize. So it is more scientific way to profile our projects on one piece of paper, on one graph, and that tells us a very different viewpoint as what should be our priority. But we have profiling, or we have the prioritization as a art too. So there are two aspects to prioritization, and we covered the scientific aspect, which we ask for the detail, we put project on paper, project brief, and now we profile our projects. That's more scientific way of prioritization. To add to it, we do art aspect as well, and that is to do resource availability. We check time of the year. Now, resource availability, it could be the low priority from the profiling perspective, but if resources are available, we rather get it done. Time of year is it a financial year end coming, fiscal year end coming, council elections coming, anything, audits coming, anything key, which is where we are sitting in the time of the year, that affects our prioritization. So we consider that. We consider politics, environment, interdependencies among the initiatives. So all these things matter. So we cover prioritization from a scientific viewpoint as well as artistic viewpoint, and they must be working hand in hand to give us what matters the most to our organization. So it is really vital we prioritize proactively, so we are investing in the right initiative. So that's the first sort of theme, first sort of pillar that will help us to be proactive. So we are investing our limited resources and budget on the right initiatives. We jump on the second aspect. We cover resource management. That's our second pillar. With resource management, we cover, again, the problem is ERP upgrade. That is one of the sort of examples. We are going to upgrade our ERP. The standard response is, okay, what is our budget? How many resources we can hire? So we are forming the project team, and these are sort of questions that are standard in our organizations. We look at a project, what is the budget, how many resources we can hire, and then we say, what should be the role and responsibility, what should be the job titles, what are the type of resources we should be looking to form the project team. And then in the remote area, while the budgets are limited, we cannot find the right people, and we feel like, okay, I'm stuck. I cannot manage the initiative because I don't have the right budget, right type of resources, and what should I do? So we feel stuck. What I'm proposing is an alternative way to look at this problem, and this is how we perhaps can look. Same problem, we are going to do a ERP upgrade. That is the project we are working on. What we do is we first of all, we eliminate. So we divide, or we look at the project at the detail level into individual work breakdown structure, work packets, and we perhaps eliminate before starting anything. We can eliminate things that are no longer required. It may be the modules that no one is using from last 5 to 10 years. It could be the integrations which are irrelevant. It could be anything which is no longer required. We say this is de-scoped, so we eliminate first of all. Secondly is outsource, and we have a negative thought of when we say outsource. When we say outsource, there are discrete things. It could be, say, integration with 5 other applications. If we can package it up and outsource or get someone to do for us, we are reducing that risk, and we are handing over the integrations to someone who is doing integrations for living. It is a fixed price, fixed scope, fixed start, fixed end, and we can mitigate or transfer that risk to the vendor who is doing integrations for living. Same is true for upgrade infrastructure, or deprecating the infrastructure, testing. So many different things can be outsourced to the people who do those things for living. Third aspect is look for skills, not titles. Now, this is generally by default, we say, okay, I need a change manager, and change manager is not available, so we feel stuck. Instead, we look for skills. Who is really in my organization may not have that title but have the right skills. We look for training, and we feel like we don't have a training manager because we're looking for titles. Instead, we start looking from skills viewpoint and see who is really a good trainer or who has done a similar work before. And I think it's gonna add a lot of value because it will be easier for us to find the right people while those skills are not available. Okay, so the summary is we look for from a work viewpoint and not from a budget and resource viewpoint. And I think that's a fundamental difference. So the work viewpoint is, it tells us at a detail level what is the breakdown of the work, what things can be eliminated, what things can be outsourced, and based upon whatever is left, what skills do I need to fulfill, to complete the work. And that is a different viewpoint from what we just looked before, which is looking at the two main constraints, that's the fixed scope, fixed budget. What can I do because I feel stuck? So we start looking from the fixed scope and fixed budget viewpoint to more work viewpoint, and that will help us to move forward and eliminate or mitigate those risks. Okay, resource management overall, again, like we covered in prioritization, resource management is a art and science as well. So we cover the scientific aspect where we divide the project into work breakdown structure or work packets. We identify their dependencies, we look at the estimates, and then we do the artistic work where we say, now I know much more about the given initiative. Who can do it? Can I do I need the resources in-house, or can I get the work done remotely? How I can find the right resources, what is the quickest way to achieve this outcome. So I think it is, again, as prioritization, resource management is an art and a science, and both must work hand in hand to help us achieve our goals. The overall key theme is we must be resourceful. That's the key thing which is going to
Sorry,
make a difference.
sorry, I was gonna ask, what is WSC mean?
So that means work breakdown structure, Brenda. We divide, yeah, will we divide the work into individual work packets. Okay, so third pillar is change management. And that's where things get even more exciting. Let's look at the problem. The problem is that we need someone to manage a change. Again, imagine we are in a remote area, remote console. We need someone to manage the change. And these are the problems which we face. Change managers are expensive. Change managers are not easy to find, and we can only afford them at the end of the project. And I think this is where we all get stuck, because we look for someone which is hard to find, expensive, and we end up, and that the remedy appears to be, since it's hard, we cannot afford them, we can only uh, get them at the end of the project, and that's where the game is lost. So we look from a very different viewpoint and ask ourselves, who are the change managers? And uh, at a very generic aspect, the change managers are our journey planners. They are our guides. They are trustworthy people. So these are the key traits of the change managers. Even they from experience perspective, they may not have managed the change before, but from a traits, from a basic traits perspective, these are sort of people we trust. They can visualize where we sit right now, where we want to be in future, and they can lead from the front to help us move forward to the new landscape. And they are guides because they understand our culture, our language, our politics, and these things matter because they are the ones who understand the environment we are operating in. They understand the constraints we are under, and they understand us as people. And the good thing is now they can visualize the future and they can help us move forward. So these are the key traits when it comes to change managers. So what we perhaps should do is we find the right people. They may not have a change manager titles while we are in a remote consoles or remote organizations. Instead, we find the people with the right traits and we help them fill the gaps. Generally, the gaps are, I don't know the change management process. I never done it before. I don't know what I don't know. It's too risky. So people get hesitant getting onto the new initiative or new job. Uh, as the executives, as the decision makers, as sponsors, we may be better off finding the right people with the right traits and fill their gaps through outside help, through consulting, through advisory, through mentors. We can fill the gaps of processes, change management process, the tools, the guidance on how to partner with a project manager and what sort of role and responsibilities are there. That's who the change managers are. And that's what perhaps we should look while we cannot find the good change managers in our area. Some key points I want to cover, and then we'll jump on the more concluding slides. Key points for change management are change management starts before the project. Often when we cannot find the people, they are expensive, we try to slot change management as a near go live thing. That's where we really lose the whole value and almost lose the project. Change management starts before the project. Change management cannot be outsourced. That means it is not like integration or data migration or uplifting, doing something technical, which we can someone from outside, we say, okay, please remotely manage the change. The communications can be managed outside, but not change management. So it cannot be outsourced. We must have right people sitting within our business who understand us, our organization, our constraints. That's where the difference is. Change management is more than people and less about the processes. And that means we can train people about the change management process. We can give them tools. We can give them what they need to be successful, but they must be good. They must have good people skills. They must understand environment, people, culture to help and facilitate that change for the organization. And this is all about finding the people who we can trust. Yeah, that's where we coming back to the point second. We cannot just outsource to anyone. This is not ticking in the box. This is really understanding the people, culture, environment to help that transition. And from our side, wherever the gaps, we fill those gaps through outside help, through consulting, through advisory, through mentors, which are available to support our change manager embedded within our organization. Okay, so these are few points about change management. I thought it's really important for us to understand. And then we are going to go through some closing thoughts, and then we'll open for any perspectives, questions, and any thoughts you may have. All right, so we cover about what we have covered is the three pillars. We talk about prioritizations, resource management, and change management. Overall, these pillars, these are disciplines in itself. What we have covered so far about prioritization, if you ask me, is it the best method? No, there may be multiple other methods. What we see in the organizations is prioritization is reactive. We should be proactively managing that discipline. Similarly, resource management, we look from a very traditional way of filling the roles. Instead, we should be able to look at the work and try to be more resourceful and find different ways to complete that work by getting the right parties involved. And we covered about change management. It is again a discipline that starts well before the project and supports throughout these initiatives. And again, something, a skill, a discipline that we must embed within our organization. It is not a project thing, it is a discipline thing that must support each initiative. So these are a few closing thoughts, and I think if we work on these three pillars, it will make a fundamental difference in the initiatives which we are managing in our remote organizations, remote consults. That's pretty much it. And yeah, we are open for any questions or comments.
Yeah, you can only use PowerPoint. My question is, how can you help with this?
Sorry, I haven't followed you, Kurinder.
I want to know how the household help with this. like what any household uses help with like any like oil field.
How to help?
Yeah,
So how to help with change management, you're saying?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So I think with how to help with change management, it's just understanding what change management is all about. Change management is not merely communicating about the project. It is about understanding the whole landscape of the business and say where people, all these individual teams are, what are their skill sets are, how well they can cope with digital change, how much training, communication support they may need when they get stuck, who is the best person that can support them. There are quite a few things that must be considered within change management aspect. Generally, what we see is change management appears to be a communication discipline, which is just a part of overall change management. So if we look at the big picture and 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 then embed change management, I think it's going to make a fundamental difference in how we manage change for any digital initiative. I hope that answers the questions, Virender.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Anyone, anything else like to cover, share?
It's Bev. It's interesting. I joined because I was quite interested in what you'd share and how you'd help councils because the resourcing challenge is huge. But I think it goes beyond that. I actually think that, and this is not just councils, but just in general, I don't
Yes.
think when leaders make the decision to introduce or upgrade their ERP, that they really understand the complexity that they are introducing from a
Absolutely.
project perspective, but also in the way that it impacts their staff and the way that the business needs to operate. Because I've seen all types of implementations trying to stretch their resources in different ways, and the most common one is to take untrained staff and slot them into positions which they then don't get the training, the proper training to understand what they're delivering. And they're very dependent on the vendor then guiding them. And of course, the vendor's not interested in the business transition. They're only interested in getting their product in as per their contract. So I don't necessarily agree that using internal resources is a better solution. It just has to be thought through because they need more than we'll show you how to do it, but what we do it. It's very complex and done well. It includes business implementation. So there's quite a lot of skill sets to it, not just learning a change framework. But it is an issue. It's an issue particularly for our councils and our smaller organisations that don't have a lot of experience in this field to make wise decisions. But I was pleased to see that you put change had to occur before the project started, not at the
Yes,
end, which is
yes.
where it currently comes in at. So.
Yes, yes, certainly. And I think, yeah, I don't think any of the topics we covered is a silver bullet to the problem, but I think it gives us uh, it hopefully gives us a bit of different perspective. And I'll share a bit of story here. Bev, one of the consuls I served, we worked on this model where the change manager didn't have the title before, but she was embedded in the organization. She know intimately inside out the different personality types, so she know the organization quite well. And we give her the guidance and the support and the framework and try to empower her to do the the change management job. Was that phenomenal? No, but I think it was better than getting someone to do a half job at the very end. So that's the sort of perspective to share a bit of example. But I think it's a problem we see very, very often. And the bigger problem I see, Bev, is we realized this problem when the budgets are burned, time is spent, and then we say we're not getting anywhere. And that's a governance thing, perhaps a topic for some other time discussion. Yeah, this is very, very common.
Yes, it is. It is. What sort of change experience do you provide them with?
I think it depends upon the type of engagement, who we are working with. It is so the example I shared, we given them a methodology and the steps. We given them the tools like change management, log, uh, stakeholder mapping, uh, yeah, risk registers related to change, quite a few other tools. So that gives a bit of perspective as what, and then a communications to-do list where which sort of or communications planning. So we've given them methodology, we've given them framework, we've given them tools, and we work with them where they get stuck. So that again, that depended upon the the organization we are working. It's not standard, but these are sort of things which we did for the specific example I was sharing.
Okay. Be happy to take our conversation offline 'cause it's not really appropriate as part of the lunch and learn, but it'd be interesting what you're doing. It's a nut that hasn't been cracked, so anything's better than nothing. But we certainly can probably improve the experience for people and get the outcomes that everybody's looking for, which quite often we fail miserably with.
Certainly, we'll get some time together and we'll cover that offline, Bev.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
No problem. Anything else, anyone?
SB, we do have another question from Carinder.
Okay.
Yeah, he's asking for a website so that he can share it.
So is there a data source for network as well? So I'm not fully following the question. So is there a data source for the network as well? Could you please explain, Kurinder, what you mean by that? Oh, okay. Like WBS. Yes. So if you search WBS, if using, is there a data source for WBS? So if you are after what is the meaning of WBS, it's widely known term. So WBS, work breakdown structure, but I'm not fully across when you say data source. My apologies. If you can explain, I can try to help, but data source, I'm not too sure what you mean by data source. Like a chart and graphic. Yes, my friend, if you look WBS on Google, ChatGPT, any platform, this is a widely known term. Please email us if you need any help. More than happy to help you. It is like one of the first things any project manager do. They divide the project into different phases and tasks and milestones. That what we call as a work breakdown structure. They allocate resources, they allocate estimates, and that forms a part of Gantt chart and project schedule. More than happy to help. Please email us if you need any help. I can jump on a call to help as well. All right. I think that's it then. Thank you all for joining, and hope we'll be able to join the next one as well. So we'll send more details for the upcoming shortly, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you all.
Thanks, Sam. Good day. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Cheers, Jack. Thank you.